A typical salon costs $400,000 to build. It's a 1,200 square foot space. It takes a year of your life to get off the ground, and you have no idea if it's going to work. That's scary for most people. So where franchising makes sense. Most franchises have a 6% royalty. So then you got to ask yourself, are the economies of scale associated with this company overcoming that 6% royalty? You get a Domino's franchise and that brand is behind you and they have this really good app and all these technologies. There's enough tailwinds there to overcome that 6% royalty. In any kind of market, people need to lower the barrier to entry to maximize their profitability. Okay, so giving something away for free allows you to test something out and then upsell them later on. It's better to be feared than loved, and if you can't be both, be feared.
You're listening to the Real Business Connections Network. Real Business Connections Network. Powered by Balbert Marketing, LLC. Subscribe now and check us out at realbusinessconnections.com. Enjoy the show.
What's our quote of the day to kick us off?
Quote of the day is, it's better to be feared than loved, and if you can't be both, be feared. And that's by Sun Tzu, The Art of War. And I wanted to share this because managers that are entering in a new role, and this happens a lot for our franchisees who are taking on salons and leading people, often come in with the, I want you to love me mentality. Now, it's important not to be the asshole. Like, that's not what your goal is in the feared side. But setting really strong standards and principles that guide the business from the beginning is much more important than having them like you. And so what happens is later on, as you go through your routine and as you get settled into your cultural role, if you're in the I like you category, people will slip up and they won't care if they slip up. But if they fear you in the beginning, and then you lessen off on the rules a little bit, you get a little bit more lax, people will feel like you're giving them something and they'll respect you and like you even more. So start off with respect versus love, and you're going to get farther along with your employees.
I love this. Start off with respect. And you guys do things a little bit differently. So I want to dive into this. It's funny when we were talking about the bio, you had 70 plus units, you guys franchise. We had to update it because you're up to 89. You're the founder and owner of Hello Sugar, Brazilian wax and sugaring franchise based in Phoenix, Arizona. You guys are growing like crazy. Like, again, like I pulled a bio from like 6 weeks ago, probably a little bit longer than that. But I pulled it 6 weeks ago. You're in the 70s units. Now you're up to 89 units in just 2 years. And you guys are different and you're revolutionizing the industry. So like, how is this all possible? So you're building a lot of respect and trust, but you must be doing something a little bit different than your competitors because it's a crowded space. Like, how have you grown so darn quickly is really the question.
Yeah, well, franchising lends itself, if you have a good business, to grow fast in general. So we do have some tailwinds from this. The reality is, though, in any kind of market, people need to lower the barrier to entry to maximize their profitability. Okay, so giving something away for free allows you to test something out and then upsell them later on. That's our principle at Hello Sugar. So we give away a free bikini wax and they come in, they get a Brazilian wax because they upsell and they like the process. Now, as a salon, we applied a similar principle. A typical salon costs $400,000 to build. It's a 1,200 square foot space. It takes a year of your life to get off the ground, and you have no idea if it's going to work. That's scary for most people. We revolutionized this process by starting with a 12 by 12 foot space inside of a salon suite boutique, which is basically you can rent a room inside of a larger salon. They're all over the country. And we started one of these and we flood it with really good advertising. We get the model off the ground. And these things, instead of being $30,000, $35,000 a month to be profitable, are profitable at about $10,000, which takes like 4 to 6 months to get to that point. And when we're losing money, we're losing very little because the overhead is so small. You're hiring 3 employees, not 14. So you season your staff, you season your clientele, you season yourself as a business owner. You're up and running in 2 to 3 months, and it costs $50,000 to $60,000 to get up and running. And then once you've proven the business model, then you move to a flagship, which is that larger model. So then it's easier to get a loan and to build that out. So you have this step risk function that people really are attracted to for the business.
Well, does that look like? So someone wants to do something entrepreneurial, but they feel like starting from scratch is just going to be exhausting and overwhelming, and they don't know what to do. Like, they reach out to you and they're just like, "Hey, I want to start a salon." Like, what does that process look like for them?
Yeah, for us, we go through a vetting phase. It's about 4 interviews, and we make sure the cash flow is there, that they're good people. We like, trust, and respect them, and then we set them up in our system. And we have the mentality of we're married, right? Like, to these people, so they're our business partners, and we stay with them. So if we don't like working with them, we just don't take them on as franchisees. Uh, and in terms of like why you would go with this, I want to kind of touch on what you said there. It's not necessarily that the entrepreneurship route is hard. A lot of ours are entrepreneurs. They have other businesses on the side, or they want to be involved in this, but they don't have the time to really go full depth into this. And they want something with less risk. So where franchising makes sense, most franchises have a 6% royalty. So then you got to ask yourself, are the economies of scale associated with this company overcoming that 6% royalty? You get a Domino's franchise and that brand is behind you, and they have this really good app and all these technologies. There's enough tailwinds there to overcome that 6% royalty. So with economies of scale, if they can provide something to counteract that, then that would be a good franchise to invest in.
You guys are brand stinking new. You're not
Yeah.
Domino's yet, at least in size and scale. How do you guys stand out from any salon franchise or any Brazilian wax? Like, what truly makes it different?
Yeah. So the profit margins are the number one thing.
Mm,
So in a typical salon, you have a reception up front. It accounts for 40% of your staff, and it accounts for $6,000 to $7,000 in cost for the receptionist. They're the worst employees. They are part time. They're going to school usually. The average turnover in the salon industry for reception is 3 months. It's absolutely insanely bad, and it's such a headache. And you have to manage these people along with your other staff, and it can be draining. So we got rid of reception. There's a kiosk to check in the front.
interesting.
We put our call center overseas. We use only text messaging, so there's no like voice disconnect in culture and trust. And we invested $250,000 into AI last year. So our automation rate is about 70% of everything's just handled instantly through AI. And because of that, we've cut that cost completely out, and our franchisees are much more profitable.
What is I see two kinds of people. There's the person like, I don't really want to be bothered, like I'm just going in real quick. This is a personal thing. I'm going to close my eyes, relax, like I want to chill, like I like that. Got the text reminders. I like that it's a quick, easy process. And then there's the person that wants to go in and they want to talk to a receptionist and they want to shoot the breeze or hang out for a little bit longer. Like, have you gotten any negative feedback by this, or people really adopting quickly?
Ben, those aren't our people. So
Fair enough.
that's the way it is. Like the people that want that like experience, there's a salon for them. It's probably inside of a Ritz-Carlton. That's not us. And it's important you know your market and your customer segments. And I would rather lose the 5% of customers that are miffed by something like that than to just provide this overall bad experience in general.
I love that. Where'd you come up with all of this? Just a pen and
Um,
paper on a napkin. I'm sure that there's so much detail into what you do. It's brilliant.
Thanks, man. Yeah, like it was 2019. I looked at a report that said we missed 33% of our calls.
Mm.
And at the time, we had 5 locations. And I'm like, well, I could double my staff on reception, but that's expensive. What if I just got rid of reception and just didn't take any calls at all? And I started going down that path. Okay, what would that look like? I would have to do only text. Well, how would I do only text? Well, I couldn't do it in America. I'd have to do it overseas. And I just, slowly built this over the next 2 years, this process of automating the reception side. And it was just like, I'm sucking at this. A third of all the calls that come in, I'm not answering. This is really bad. I'm giving a bad customer experience. Maybe if we go callless, we have a better customer experience.
Mm. That's not that to me is a lesson that goes to any listener, that if you can provide an exceptional customer experience in whatever you do, you're gonna have more clients, and it's a
Yeah.
scalable model. Well, what does that look like? I know I'm asking you a million questions, but I'm just like so insatiably curious. Like, what does it look like franchising that many like What was the number? What, 89
89.
units in
Yeah.
a couple years? Oh, your head's
Yeah.
got to be exploding, man.
Yeah. So, this is a hockey stick style growth. I
Mm,
mean, not really. We've doubled every year since we opened. The first year is just me and my COO, and I was working very long hours, very, very long hours. And, we just didn't have the money. The problem with franchising is your royalty is 6%. That's not enough to cover admin, right? Not at that scale. And so unless you take like outside capital, you're bootstrapping and you're working for free. So luckily I had my salons to like pay for this while we are growing. But that first year was very, very challenging. And I basically took on a couple of businesses and just worked in their business. I was like effectively the CEO of all these franchisees to make
mm,
sure that they succeeded. And not to give them any less credit, they were phenomenal, but it took a lot from my side as well. And then the next step is find great people to work for you. And we have a dynamic team. We pay them extremely well. And I was able to bring a lot of people in my network over. So we hired the staff, even though it costs more than we were making to fill the role of growth. And I just said to myself, this isn't worth it at 30 or 40 locations. We need to be a 100 plus unit company. And so let's put the infrastructure in place now to go from good to great.
mm. How do we have international listeners, so I'm hoping that a lot of our listeners have a nearby, what do you call, what do you call, I almost
Salon.
said store. I was like, that's a dumb way to, what is a classy way to call it? A salon?
Yeah, it's a salon, Brazilian waxing salon. Yeah.
Where is there like a location finder that we can use?
Yeah, I mean, just on hellosugar.salon, yeah, and on the website, there's a location finder. So we're in about 16 states right now, and we're expanding nationally, except for California and New York.
Okay.
These states have high litigation, and I don't want to deal with litigious states at the time. Yeah, we'll wait on those until we're bigger.
I'm born and raised in New York, upstate New York, but part of me is like flirting with the idea of moving out because it's interesting here. I'll just
It's a
leave it
tough
at that.
state.
It's a tough
Yeah,
state. As a business owner, it's a tough state. And if the listener wants to be a business owner but doesn't want to have all the nosebleeds of coming up with this complex such system on their own, is that just hellosugar.com as well?
yeah. So if they just Google Hello Sugar franchising, and you'll find us. But it's franchising on the hellosugar.salon website. We're a .salon, not a .com.
Love that. I didn't even know
Yeah.
those were domain names. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's you can get some of the better ones with the dot salons, I bet. Yeah, because Hello Sugar is a fantastic name.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
That's a good domain name right there.
Right there. Yep. Yeah.
Love that. Love that. It's all in the show notes, y'all. I say it all the time on this show. Like, we're shooting the breeze. We're talking about salons and franchising. And a lot of listeners don't have a franchise or might not be a business owner, but I want everybody to be able to take 1 to 2 to 3 nuggets from this and go implement it. So we call it an integration assignment. Do you have any recommendations of something we could do as early as like right now to start
Yeah.
integrating what we've learned?
Yeah. Great question. So every franchise works a lot like a public company in that there's an FDD, a federal disclosure document. And this document will outline the entire business strategy of that franchise. The document will tell what the financials are for the company, where they're getting their supplies from, what kind of litigation they've had, what kind of insurance they require of their franchisees, what their strategic business model is, how they charge fees, etc. And if I were starting a business today, let's say I was starting a salon, or let's say I was starting something else, like a food concept, whatever, I would go find all of my competitors in this space that are franchising, and I would read and study the FDD because that is a blueprint for how to build a business. I wouldn't even need to talk to franchise like consultants or anything. I would literally just look at the FDD. And so if I have any advice for somebody who's looking to start a business, it doesn't matter mine or like any type of business, go find a franchise in your space and review the FDD because that's your blueprint. That will help you gain scale faster than anything else you can do.
Dude, that might be the most brilliant thing I've ever heard of. 20 of my listeners right now are about to go create a competing franchise just because they went and read yours. So I can find that and put that in the show notes. It's all just common information anyone can access.
Yeah, I'll send a link to where they can find FDDs for free, and you can just put that in the show notes, and they can look those up for their industry. and just go read them. They're super interesting.
Yeah, like I've got a marketing company. I work with estheticians, with real estate agents. There's franchises in pretty much all these spaces. We can go and just learn about. Like, wow, it just blows my mind because these are proven systems.
Yeah. And like, I mean, for example, one of my competitors is interested in doing laser.
Mm.
And in the FDD, it tells exactly what store they got the laser from and how much they're paying compared to retail price. That's like blueprint secrets 101.
All right, we got to sign off because I'm about to go nerd out. This is fantastic. You're welcome back anytime, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. This was fun. Flew by.
Thanks, Ben. Well, it was great to meet you and to connect with your listeners. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, Brigham. We'll talk soon. Appreciate it.